I failed my first exam. That's a common thing that happens, right? I'm a teacher, I teach, you know, I have a regular job. I go to work, I teach some math, people learn math, they take tests, right? That's what I do. And people fail all the time. And let me tell you, it is super normal. It is expected, right? Like, it's expected. Every once in a while, I'll give a test and like nobody will fail, but it happens, right? People fail all the time. I failed, right? My first test in graduate school, the teacher walks in, he takes the test, throws them on the stack and says, "Here is test." So everyone rushes up to get their test. I didn't want to be rude, so I stood back. People are flipping through the test, you know, looking through, so everyone can see your grade, right? Everyone who's in front of you is flipping through tests, looking for their name, and they're seeing your grade. So I got my test back, and I got a 47%, right? I was defeated, right? I felt terrible. I was like, oh my God, this is not just like failing a Calculus 1 test, right? This is like your first test in grad school, right? You've moved away to some other state. Maybe you've moved from another country. I was in the US already, but plenty of people there from other countries, right? They're in a new world and they failed their first test. That's gotta feel terrible, right? I mean, they pay you to go to graduate school, right? They pay you a salary, they pay your tuition, they pay fees, they pay your health insurance. I mean, you're getting paid to do math and then you fail. That's a lot worse than failing a calculus test. So how do you come back from that, right? What do you do to rise above that failure? Well, you just do, right? Like I always say, and I don't know if I've said this before, but it's our innate will to survive, especially in grad school, right? When you're in grad school, your grades, like how you do, that's like your life, right? Like if you have an apartment, like if you fail your math test, they'll kick you out, right? If you fail too many tests, and then you can't pay your bills, right? So you need the math to survive. At that point, math becomes your life. But if you're just in Calc 1 or something and you failed, no big deal, right? You can come back from it. People do all the time, right? Every semester I have people who fail the first test and they come back and they just do better. So how do you do that? Well, obviously you study, you work harder. If there's a review, you go over the review. I mean, you do everything possible to pass that test, right? You work as hard as you possibly can, right? You prioritize it, you have to. If you don't have the time to prioritize it, then maybe, you know, you shouldn't be in the class, right? Maybe you should give up, right? I'm a big believer in giving up, by the way. A lot of times people fail their tests because they have too many things going on in their life, right? Like I have students who, you know, they're working and they're taking 4 classes and maybe they have kids or they have a family. Like there is only so much you can do. Personally, I was extremely privileged, right? I only took math classes. I took out a bunch of loans and went to school, and I had no responsibilities other than math thanks to the student loans. So I was able to survive off, like, you know, financial aid and student loans and really focus on the math. If it hadn't been for that, let me tell you, I would not have made it.